Concept 5, Indents, page WD 2.32. You'll see there's 4 different types of indents they typically talk about. Left indent, first line indent, right indent, and hanging indent. Typically when we write things, we write with the first line indent. As you can see on this page, nothing has been indented at all. We're going to go ahead and change the zoom width to page width. So we're going to come up here to View and find in our zoom group page width and click on that, and that will zoom us in a little bit here. And we're going to move to the beginning of the first paragraph where it says Imagine, and we're going to hit the Tab button. The Tab button will automatically indent us in 0.5 inches or half an inch, and that's typically what a first line indent is. And anytime you hit the Tab button without any other presets in there, it's always going to move you half an inch. We're going to begin with the second paragraph. Select the remaining text on page 1. So I'm going to come up here to 2. I'm going to select the rest of page 1 only. And I'm going to come up to my ruler and drag my first line indent in half an inch. And if you put your cursor over these 3 different nodules on your ruler, you will see that they alternate in title. The first one, the top one pointing down, is first line indent, and we're going to move that over halfway to the 1 inch mark for half an inch. And then we'll scroll back up and you can see how everything that's its first line, the beginning of a sentence or paragraph, will be tabbed in half an inch. Then we're going to select the lines of the table headings. This little table right down here. We're going to select all of these, and we're going to drag the first line indent marker to the 1 inch ruler. So rather than having these indented half an inch, they're going to be indented an entire inch. The next thing we're going to work on here is called tab stops, and these can be particularly confusing. So you might want to mark this on your book. They start on WD 2.35, and it's just been my experience that sometimes students have trouble with this. That's not really difficult once you wrap your mind around the concept, but in the beginning it can be a little tricky. So you just might want to mark that page because I have a feeling you might be coming back to it later on just to take a look. When we talk about tab stops, we talk about several different ones, and they're listed on 2.35. We have our left tab type, and you can see up here at the top of my ruler on the left hand side is a little shape that looks like an L. That is the left hand tab mark. If I click on it once, you'll see it switches, and this is known as the center mark. Again, the right mark. Again, the decimal. And finally the bar. And I click it once more and it gives me this funny symbol for first line indent, and then once more for hanging indent, and then all the way back to a left tab stop. Typically for this class you only need to worry about left, centered, and right tabs. And they can give you a picture on 2.35 of what they're intending to make this little chart that I still have highlighted here, this little table. They're going to turn it into what we see on 2.35. And this is how they do it. It says, if necessary, select the line of table headings in the 3 lines of information. I already have that selected. This says, if necessary, click the tab alignment to make sure it's back to this, the L, because whatever this image is the type that we're going to insert. And then we're going to come over to the 2 inch position on the ruler, where it says 2, and I click. And you'll see that it puts that shape in. And then I'm going to come to the 3 inch marker, and I'm going to come to the 4.5 marker. And click anywhere in the table then to deselect it. So I'm just going to click in here. Then I'm going to move to anywhere in the table heading line. That would be this one. And I'm going to drag the 2 inch tab stop marker down off the ruler. So I'm going to come in here, grab my 2 inch marker, and just take it off the ruler. Gone. Then I'm going to double click any tab stop to open the tabs dialog box. So here are my tab stops. I'm going to double click and it'll open up this little window. And right now it should show you have a 3 inch and a 4.5 inch. What I'm going to do here is clear all. These are the 2 different ways. You can just drag them and yank them off the ruler, or you can come in here and clear them all to get rid of them. And sometimes that's necessary. If you put in one too many, it can become troublesome to get rid of them. I'm then going to click OK. Now, I'm going to switch my tab stops from left to center by clicking on it once over here on the top right, top left. And I'm going to insert center stops at the 1.25 inch mark, at the 2.25, at the 3.5, and 5 inch mark. So I need to put them in each one of those spots. And typically, when we do this, what you're going to find happening is that the title lines of these tables will often have center stops where the rest of them will have left-hand stops. So just you'll note that. It may be necessary to insert a tab in front of date so it lines up. If you're confused on why this might not be lining up correct for you, you can always come up here and hit the Show Hide. And it's very important to note that the reason when we put these tab stops in that they jump from one spot to the next is because there already have had tabs placed in here. So if you were building this table from scratch, you would have to hit a tab after each one of these words to get them to jump to the next tab stop. So sometimes that can be a little confusing. When everything is correct, it will look like this. And that means everything has been set, at least in this little table here, with the 1 inch first line indent, and then the tab stops are different for our first line versus the next 3 lines. So make sure that yours looks like this. After we've done that, we're going to add leaders. So I'm going to select the 3 lines of the presentation, not the title line, these 3 right here. And I'm going to double click on any one of these tab stops again. And what a tab leader is basically dots or dashes, and you can see the different types of leaders here, that will go from one tab to the next. And so, for my 2-inch tab here, you have to select and do each one of these individually. I'm going to click on the 2-inch tab, and it tells us that we should choose the 3rd leader style, which would be this one, and I'm going to click on Set. And then I'm going to click on 3 inches, and I'm going to click on the 3rd style and hit Set. And then I'm going to click on 4.5 inches, the 3rd style, and click on Set. And once I've done each one of those individually, I can click OK, and you'll see that I've got this dashed line. And I'm going to turn off my Show Hide marker so you can see better that this is what you should have come up with. If you haven't come up with this, I would recommend trying to do this one again.